Hey everybody, I'm Connor, that's Doug, and this is the Bethel School District Presents podcast, and we are on location this week. We are at our amazing transportation department speaking with lead driver trainer Mahogany Corioso, and although she's got a big job training others, she was a bus driver before any of that. So Mahogany, I understand you were a bus driver here in Bethel for about 7 years before you got promoted to driver trainer. I bet you heard some funny things from students during that time. Anything jump out at you as one of the funnier things a kid said when he was on the bus?
I would have to say one of the funniest things is, I think it was probably my second year, Connor, and there was a student that was on an elementary route. I don't remember the student's name, but I vividly remember his face. And so he goes, Are you the sub driver today? And I said, I am. And he goes, okay, well, I just want to let you know, okay, that my driver knows how to drive. So if you don't know how to drive, they should probably send someone else. And so I was like, okay, got it, boss. I got it. And so it's crazy because typically, normally, you know, the students will ask you things in the nature of, do we have assigned seats on this bus? Because sometimes we don't have their primary bus, right? Or they'll say, middle school, they'll say, hey, can the sixth grader sit in the back or whatever? Typically, you don't have a student that says, hey, do you know how to drive? Do you know how to do your job? Because if you don't, tell them get somebody else over here.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
sometimes you just got to check.
So that was
a funny one.
Yeah.
I love that. Great story and a great start to this podcast. We're going to talk a lot more about driving bus and really getting people over here too so you can train them to drive our students to and from school. We're always looking for bus drivers. But before we do that, Mahogany, we have a little segment we call the lightning round. So we've got 10 questions here. Answer as fast as you can. I'll start here. So Mahogany, what is your favorite food?
Chinese food.
Do you have any pets?
I do not.
What is your dream car?
Oh, man, probably a Cadillac Escalade.
Last concert you attended?
Sade.
Nice. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What is your favorite season?
Christmas.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am definitely an early bird.
You have a TV series you're watching right now?
I don't have a TV series that I'm watching right now, but I always rewatch Grey's Anatomy.
Comfort show.
That's
right.
Seattle classic. Speaking of that, Mariners or Seahawks?
Oh my God. Oh my God, neither. Oh my God, this is going to be so bad.
That's a bold take.
Any Seattle sports we could throw out that?
I do like the Storm.
The Storm. There you go.
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's the kind of thinker of the list. What's one thing currently on your bucket list?
I do want to go to Fiji. If I can't make it there, Tahiti's right behind of it.
It's about 30 degrees out there, so Fiji or Tahiti.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sounds pretty great this time of year. Well, that's a great introduction. Thanks for participating in our little experiment there, lightning round. We love doing that. Let's talk about your work as a driver trainer here in Bethel. For you personally, what's it like bringing new drivers on board? I'm sure you get people from all walks of life.
We do. You know, it is the most rewarding job. I have 15 years of training experience with McDonald's, and there's something truly about being able to have a hand in someone's success, you know. So for me personally, that's what drives me to do what I do. It's something that's embedded in me. It's something that I really am passionate about. You know, when people come in here, there's so much anxiety and pressure on so many different plateaus, right? Just the sheer size of the bus. You have people that have not been working for 5 years, right? Being out of the workforce for so long. And, you have some people that are Class A holders, meaning they've done big rigs, things of that nature. So they may have a fear of just having that many amount of kids on the bus. But it is so rewarding to not only be able to see the success, but had helped them through that.
And speaking of that, are there any stories that jump out to you of drivers who came in and maybe they were particularly anxious about a certain part of this, and you, thanks to our training and your hard work, they overcame that and now they're a successful driver? Do you have any stories that stick out about that?
Yes, there is a few trainees that I've came across where there was a lot of doubt, that I just can't do it. There was doubt of them not being able to balance the sheer fact of maneuvering the bus as well as student management. We have a process, it's about an 8 to 10 week process. And you have a person that once they do observations, and that's a 4-day process, right? And it's a little bit of a shock for them because they actually get to see live and in action what drivers go through. And so we had a couple that was like, okay, I don't think this is going to work out, right? So my job as the lead trainer and our job as trainers is to make them believe in something they cannot believe in, right? Which is their ability to be able to be successful and do the job. And so, we strive on and we do our best to make sure that we don't only capture them back and help to retain them, but our job is to ignite that confidence and that motivation in them.
That's awesome. You've mentioned student management a couple of times now. Is that the biggest difference in driving for a school district than driving a bus or some big rig somewhere else?
Well, I don't have experience with a big rig. And I'm sure, doing a big rig or even, Pierce Transit to say.
Right.
I'm sure that they all have their challenges, right? I'm assuming with the big rig, you have your challenges with tying down the load, things of that nature, packing it, making sure it's packed properly, whatever. But what I do know is it is extremely challenging to have a bus full of children, no matter what grade level, no matter what school they're going to. And, you have to be able to manage those students because parents are entrusting in us that we keep their children safe to and from. But you also have the added pressure of following the rules of the road, right? We're required by law to follow the WACs, the RCWs. And now, because of the sheer size of the bus, not only it's about keeping the people in that bus safe, but also everybody that's around you on that road. So there's a lot of pressure that's added to it. Don't know if it's more pressure than, Pierce Transit or a big rig. But I guarantee you they don't have a whole bunch of kids on it.
I'm sure that makes everything a little bit more difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, how does our school district support bus drivers in managing challenges like student behavior or even inclement weather? We see that a lot in the wintertime.
Yeah, so I know with inclement weather, I know that our leadership team here does a phenomenal job of, waking up when everybody else is sleeping and making sure that the roads are safe and suitable for the drivers to be transporting students. Every year that I have been here, the leadership does a great job of doing that. I have never, ever, at any point in time, any year or month, felt as if I was going to get into a bus and it was going to be unsafe, where I didn't trust in my leadership to have our back. They've always, in my eyes, made the right call. Whether it was a 2-hour late start or cancellation. So the leadership here does a very good job of that. And I know that our leadership also monitors the weather very frequently, during the winter and the fall seasons. The other part of the question was what?
Student behaviors, things like that. And you've touched on that a little bit, but is there anything that jumps out at you in terms of the support you get for helping to manage kids who maybe have a tougher time on the bus?
So here, starting with training, we go really in depth with student management as well as right response. The training department, and it's told to every single trainee, whether they're in the training program or they've been released to dispatch to sub, they know that the training department is always here to support them. If need be, a trainer will go and ride with them or myself, give them some support. We also have a student support coordinator here, Aubrey, and she does a phenomenal job with having monthly classes for PBIS. It's really good because the drivers and assistants get an opportunity to kind of talk about strategies, struggles, things of that nature. Aubrey gets an opportunity to educate the drivers and the assistants on, some best bets and some ideas and materials that would help them to be able to be successful with student management. So there is a really good support system here that support the drivers and as well as the assistants with that.
That's awesome. And you mentioned bus assistants now. We're always looking for bus drivers. We're always looking for bus assistants too. Can you talk a little bit about what their role is on the bus?
Yes, so a bus assistant, they only are assisting on program routes, which are special education routes. Some of the times they're on there for the students that are on the bus, but sometimes they're on the bus for a one-on-one. And there could be multiple different reasons for that. Okay, and I'm not going to get into that because that's not my wheelhouse, but their job is to mainly be on the bus and to assist with the children to make sure that the children are successful, riding safely, and whatever their IEP says as far as that one-on-one process, that they're making sure that that's executed and that happens.
I love the answer, and I appreciate using wheelhouse in a conversation about buses. That's the dad joke part of me coming out.
Gotcha.
And I think a lot of people think of a bus driver as that's maybe a solitary job. It's just the driver behind the wheel, but there actually is a big team element to this. Can you tell us about that?
I can, and I'm glad that you asked that question, Connor, because it really does seem, when you're out there in that bus, it does seem really lonely sometimes. And, especially when you are the only person in that bus, and then you have anywhere between 30 and 60, 80 other people on that bus, but they're all children. So it does seem lonely, but what I will tell you is, first and foremost, you have a phenomenal group of drivers here. So not only you may think that you're on the bus by yourself, but you have drivers that come on that radio and they say, Mahogany, it's going to be all right, right? Michelle, it's okay. It happens to everybody. Just keep on going. So the drivers are out there on the radio, not physically in that bus, but on the radio supporting each other. It's a beautiful thing. You have your dispatchers that are in the building that will be there to support you and to give you direction on what needs to happen, right? If a driver gets out there and they get lost, I will tell you firsthand, it's not a good experience. You kind of almost feel like, you're in this black hole and you got to give up, but you have all this pressure to deliver these children, right? Parents are trusting in you. The kids are trusting in you. And, it seems really scary out there, but the routing department comes on the radio, gives you step-by-step directions, gets you back to where you need to go, and there's all this pressure that's relieved. It's such a big support. Also, you have to think about, the drivers have a lot of support outside of this building as well. And I want to talk about Bethel as a whole, not just transportation, right? You have the support of the staff at the school. We work with the teachers, the paras, the principals, the counselors, and I think when you not only work with the team here at Bethel, co-workers, right? Different departments, leadership, right? But when you are utilizing that and working with the schools, that's when beautiful things start to happen. And I think at that point in time is when the best service we can give to the children happens.
Well, if that's not a sales pitch to join Team Bethel, I don't know what a sales pitch is to join Team Bethel. I want to join Team Bethel right
there
now.
You
and
go.
I already work here. That was great. We are always hiring bus drivers, always hiring bus assistants. What would you say to encourage folks to apply?
What I tell people when we are out recruiting is the true beauty of working for Bethel Transportation is not only the people, but it's the quality of life. As a driver, we teach them in training. You do your job the way that you're taught to do your job. And when you come in, you handle whatever needs to be handled and you hang up your keys. The leadership doesn't call you. You don't have dispatch calling you. You don't have routing calling you. You go home, enjoy your family, love on your family, right? Every weekend you're off. I have never worked at any profession where I had every weekend off. And then once you get contracted as a driver, you get paid for all the breaks that you have, meaning Christmas, 2 weeks, right? You get spring break, you get the summers off, and you still get paid for that. The last time I had summers off was when I was a senior in high school, right? And here's a true story. I'm going to tell you guys a true story. So my first year working here, I had the summer off. So I promise you, 2 weeks into the summer, and I started thinking to myself, I said, hey, these people better pay me because I'm not working. I'm like, I was doubting that I was going to get a paycheck at the last day of the month like they told me I was. So here comes the third week, and I'm like, they better pay me because I haven't worked. So the last day of the month in July, because that was my first full month of not working, and the last day of July, they deposited my regular pay into my account, and I lied to you not, I cried. I cried.
Just relief, I'm sure.
I cried because I could not believe it, and I just told myself, what have I been doing for the last 20 years? This is the place I should have been working for, right?
Yeah.
Not just the people, but I mean the quality of life that you get with your family. And I'm sure everybody who's going to hear this podcast knows family's everything. You know, and once a day passes by, you can't go back to yesterday and fix something or change something or give time. Time is now lost, right? So that's the biggest thing I would say for anybody that's out there. Is it hard driving a school bus? Do you have all these kids? Can things happen? It sure can. But the quality of life that you get, all that time with your family, that's priceless. That's priceless. Somebody please tell me where you can get that, because you can only get that at Bethel Transportation, I'm telling you.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that story. And I'm thinking of all the folks listening that they're thinking, hey, that sounds great to me. Go to jobs.bethelsd.org and go ahead and apply to be a bus driver or a bus assistant.
So being a school bus driver is about so much more than simply getting children from point A to point B. You're really playing an active role in their lives. A lot of times it's the first district employee they see in the day and the last district employee they see at night. And I remember years ago I spoke with a bus driver who told me a great story about how he had taken several generations of the same family to and from school over something like 15 or 20 years. Just really meaningful stuff, playing a role in these kids' lives. Do you have any experiences like that, Mahogany?
That's something that I have been able to experience. I haven't been able to experience the different generations of a family and the opportunity to have driven that whole family, right? But I have had the opportunity of being able to drive. For example, 5 years ago, there was some elementary students that I drove, right? And they were on my high school route, right? Years later. Okay, and it was so funny because the gentleman, and I'll never forget his name. His name's Brad, right? And so Brad goes, and he's graduated now, but Brad goes, "Hey, Miss Mahogany, if my brother gives you a problem on the bus, you let me know, right? When you come pick me up at Spanaway Lake, you let me know, right?" And so I said, "Oh, your brother's on the bus?" And he goes, "Yeah." So, and he says his brother's name. And so, so the next morning, the brother, this was like within the first week of school, right? So the brother comes on the bus and the brother goes, and I think he's probing me. He's trying to find out if his brother's being honest or not, right? So his brother goes, "Hey, do you know Brad so-and-so?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I drove him for a long time." And he goes, "You did?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that's my brother." I said, "I know," right? So now he has this look on his face, right? And he's like, "Okay." And look, that you can kind of see through the look, and it looks like, okay, everything that my brother told me is true now, right? So that was really cool. And I believe at the end of the year, his brother he looked at me, and it was like the last week of school, and he goes, "Miss Mahogany, are you going to be my driver next year?" And I said, "I'm really going to try my best. I can't promise you." And he goes, "Well, I hope that you drive me for the until I graduate, until I go to high school." And I said, "I'm going to try my best." So it's things like that. And, that's another reason to drive, for Bethel. We are providing a service to the community that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. And it is extremely fulfilling. It's like you're a community superhero. You go to the store and they're like, "Oh my God, there's Miss Mahogany," right? And it's so cool. It's like you're a community celebrity. It's phenomenal. I love it, and the kids love it. It's something that you just are not able to get at every single career.
I just love that story. I love the relationship that you get to build with these students over the school years. As a bus driver, that's really special. And you've given folks a lot to think about. If they're thinking about a second career, another career in driving bus here in Bethel or being a bus assistant, one of the many things, again, jobs.bethelsd.org. Mahogany Corioso, lead driver trainer at Bethel Transportation. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed having you.
Oh, thank you, folks. It was a pleasure and a privilege.
Well, thank you again, Mahogany Quarioso, lead driver trainer here at the Bethel School District. We will be back next week with another brand new episode. See you then.